One day at the cafe, the boss mentions that she is already tired after a day off at work, and that maybe tomorrow she will need a massage before going to work. Yewoon asks if she shouldn't take more days off, but his boss replies that if she did, she would surely lose money. The boy, upon hearing that, comments that she will surely die thinking about money. However, his boss doesn't care and responds that running out of money scares her more than death. Immediately, she asks what he thinks about Shin Young and adds that, although she has only been working there for 2 months, she considers her efficient. She also highlights that she has a cheerful personality, is good at serving customers, and is also very friendly. Yewoon responds that she still hasn't memorized all the recipes, to which his boss replies that it's understandable since she hired her in a rush. Even so, she is glad that he is there with her. She adds that without him, she wouldn't be at ease and that he is the only part-time employee she can trust to manage the cafe. The young man blushes and asks why she says that so suddenly. But Yeojo looks at him with admiration and immediately changes the subject to ask if he will be busy on his next day off. Yewoon thinks for a moment and replies that he doesn't have much to do. That's when his boss suggests they should go eat some meat. Immediately, she clarifies that it's her way of thanking him since she knows he suffered a lot yesterday. Upon hearing that, Yewoon responds that if that's the case, she could thank him in cash, which annoys his boss since she has already paid him his entire salary. However, suddenly she changes her attitude and asks him to accompany her for a drink because besides that, she also wants to eat some meat. He, with few options, accepts with resignation and tells her that if that's what she wants, they can grill meat at his house. But she insists on going to a restaurant, arguing that it would be pathetic to eat alone and that it is very depressing to be at home, eating meat and washing dishes without company. Remembering how she used to complain when she did that at home, lamenting not having a wealthy life, she insists again that they should go eat together. The young man reflects for a moment and realizing that he is not busy, decides to accept. Then he asks where they are going, but just at that moment his boss notices something strange. That catches the boy's attention and he watches her curiously. However, the woman asks him to watch the counter for a second before leaving the place. On the other hand, in the cafe, there was someone familiar, Hyun Jae, who was listening to music on his phone. He reflected that the version mixed by his studio engineer of the collaborative song was more complete overall. However, he considered that the version mixed by Hain wasn't bad. He thought it had a slightly rough sound, but each instrument contributed its own unique touch, creating the retro feel of long afternoon and a distinctive sense of space. After analyzing it, he wondered what he should do. He confessed that he loved both versions, making it difficult to decide. Finally, he concluded that he would have to go back to his studio and listen to them again on his monitors. However, when he took off his headphones, he heard something. Looking back, he saw that someone was taking pictures of him. That made him wonder if someone had just taken a picture of him in secret. Although it wasn't the first time it had happened, he still felt embarrassed when it did. He reflected that he would prefer if they approached him and took a photo with him. Or perhaps he thought they didn't want a photo with him but were simply interested in other people's private lives. Then, he stood up and said he didn't mind, but he didn't want to cause trouble in the cafe. So he decided to leave for the moment. Just at that moment, Yeojo stepped in front of the girl and asked her to wait a moment. He informed her that the rules stated that filming other customers was not allowed, but the person taking photos or recording replied that they weren't filming another customer but rather a TV celebrity. But the owner responded that famous or not, anyone who enters her cafe is a customer, and she asked if they could stop doing that. Then, the girl stood up and replied that she also had the right to express her opinion since she was also a customer. She then asked if it was okay for a cafe worker to act that way toward a customer. Unfazed, the owner coldly responded and asked if she had ordered anything. She added that, in general, she didn't say anything to those who sat without ordering. but she admitted that she couldn't stand seeing someone bothering other customers. She demanded that the girl at least order a drink or leave. That made the woman a bit nervous. Without another word, she left the place and threatened to destroy the business online. She claimed she would spread everything on social media and drive them out of the market. Before leaving, she cursed. Without getting upset, he simply replied that it was fine, thanked her, and said goodbye. Hyunjae thanked the cafe owner and apologized for causing so much trouble. However, the woman replied that there was always noise in a cafe and that it was part of the business. She told him not to worry and to come back whenever he wanted, as she didn't care whether he was famous or not. Immediately, she asked if he liked cappuccinos with a friendly tone. After being speechless for a moment, he replied that he did, so she offered him one. After tasting it, Hyunjae said it was the best cappuccino he had ever had, and shortly after, he left the establishment. As he walked, he commented that the whole thing had been annoying and that being famous must be exhausting since he always ended up getting into trouble. For her part, Yeowoon told her boss that she had done a good job since she managed to retain their regular customer and get rid of the troublesome person. Then she confessed that she was a genius. But the owner replied that she wasn't a genius and that she simply couldn't stand by and do nothing. She explained that ignoring those situations would only make her life miserable. Changing the subject, she brought up the invitation to eat meat again and admitted that she was craving beef. Yeowoon, sighing, replied that they would go and that surely her boss couldn't wait to eat. Her boss confirmed her words and informed her that they would meet at 7. Then, that day arrived, and Yeowoon was waiting for her boss. While looking at her phone, she reflected that it was almost time for summer internships and that she still hadn't visited any companies. She supposed she would have to wait a little longer for that. However, after thinking about it a bit more, she wondered why she was overthinking it and considered that it wasn't urgent. She thought that there was no need to put too much pressure on herself and that the job search was still going according to plan. That is, of course, unless she got sidetracked while checking job listings on her phone. To distract herself, she decided to listen to Long Afternoon, a new song she loved and that also relaxed her. But just before doing so, something caught her attention. She wondered what it was, and upon noticing the indie music recommendation list in the app, she realized that the album cover was different. At that moment, her boss arrived and commented that she had arrived early. Turning around, Yeowoon noticed that she was accompanied by Shin Young. Surprised, she confessed that she didn't know Shin Young was coming with them. Her boss replied that Shin Young had also worked hard that day and that they should give her some meat to eat. That made the girl even happier. "Shin Young, by the way," greeted Yeowoon, and she greeted her back. Thus, her boss started a barbecue, cheering everyone on as she added that today's goal was to eat an entire beef. She also commented that it had been a long time since they had eaten something like that, so they wouldn't go home until they were completely full. Yeowoon was surprised by that side of her boss, and even more so when Shin Young took her by the arm and insisted that they eat right. She mentioned that she hadn't eaten beef in a long time either. Yeowoon nodded and said they were going, although in her mind she couldn't help but wonder why Shin Young had suddenly grabbed her arm. It felt strange. However, she decided that the only thing she would think about today was enjoying the beef. Meanwhile, in a music store, Hain was writing something. As he did, he thought that it didn't sound good at all and wondered if it was the rhythm or perhaps simply because he was hungry. And with that, we've reached the end of this week's chapter. If you made it all the way to the end, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this chapter in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe so our community can keep growing and we can reach more fans like you. See you in the next video. In the meantime, if you're from the near future, I'll leave you the next chapter and a comic you're sure to enjoy. Thank you for being part of this adventure.